I don't know if this is working. Anyway, I think everybody can hear us. This is a wonderful room. This is one of the rooms that the House Agricultural Committee meets in. And we're going to begin the program right now. We have, for an hour, we have some coffee and some bagels and such to munch on. We have our colleagues here that I'm really excited that have made nominations, and their nominations have resulted in those individuals receiving the awards that we're going to present today. So let me, without further ado, introduce my co-chair and colleague of this important caucus that we established about 18 years ago, the gentleman from New York, Congressman Diaz-Padilla. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Costa, and thank you all for being here. Thank you for traveling from all corners of this great nation to celebrate some amazing honorees. I am proud to be one of the co-chairs of the Crime Survivors and Justice Caucus. We must remember always that every crime has a victim, every crime has a face, and every single one of those faces and victims deserves justice. As a retired NYPD detective, I have seen firsthand the impact crime has over communities. I've witnessed the devastation experienced by survivors, their families, and loved ones, not just in the moment, but endured for years and decades. As a member of Congress representing New York's 4th Congressional District, encompassing most of Nassau County on Long Island, I promised constituents that I would be their voice in Congress. That means supporting bipartisan policies that support crime survivors. I'm honored to be here today with my co-chair, Congressman Costa, to recognize an inspiring group of individuals that have dedicated time, and in some cases, their lives, to supporting survivors in the aftermath of crime. From across this country, we have individuals and organizations that lift victims up when they are in some of their lowest, saddest, and scariest moments. From providing resources to raising awareness to ensuring that criminals are held accountable for their actions, these recipients are making a difference in their communities and around the country. I am proud to be able to recognize many of you for your work today. This caucus is truly inspiring. I would now like to invite my fellow co-chair to give his opening remarks.
Thank you. I want to welcome all of you to our nation's capital and to be here as a part of the Crime Survivors and Justice Caucus. Co-chairman, I think, spoke well of his own experience and passion. I'm proud to represent the people of California's San Joaquin Valley, spanning parts of Fresno and Tulare counties, but at one time or another, through about 5 reapportionments, I've represented 9 out of the 10 counties in the valley. But whether you're coming from California, whether you're coming from New York, Kentucky, Minnesota, Arizona, or Virginia, all recipients that we are awarding this morning, we are delighted that you are here to recognize the incredible service that you've given for those who are most vulnerable. In 2005, when I was a new member of Congress with my colleague, Congressman Ted Poe from Texas, Annie Seymour, our good friend, she's worked all over the country, worked in Texas and worked in California, said, you know, Jim, you got to meet my buddy Ted Poe. I worked in his court. He almost threw me out one time. Not a true story.
This is on live stream.
Ted's got his own version of it. He says, you know, you're new members, and you know, you don't have as much to do. I don't know why she thought that, but why don't you help form this caucus? Because you're a Democrat and Ted's a Republican, and we have this bipartisan view about victims of crime. And so it came about. We established this victim Victims' Rights Caucus, which is now the Crime Survivors and Justice Caucus, with shared belief in elevating the voice of crime victims and their families as the survivors by the United States Congress in a bipartisan fashion, as my colleague noted. Crime survivors, as we all know, there are sons, there are daughters, their sisters, their brothers, their family and friends who are struggling to survive the aftermath of a crime that has been committed. And they deserve our support and they deserve our help. And each and every one of you inspire my colleague and I, because you do so. You do so every day. And whether it's on an individual basis or your organizations that you're part of, you make a difference. This caucus tries to recognize the difference that you make and elevates the needs of crime survivors on an ongoing basis. We're grateful to the dynamic field of victim services today that are now helping us identify gaps in victim and survivor services and how Congress can help address them through the VOCA funding, which is not taxpayer dollars, but it's I don't want to say crime pays, but we know that there's a lot of money in crime, whether it's white collar crime or other types of felonies that exist. And those funds go into a restitution fund, and that's referred to as the VOCA funding. Since the caucus was founded, we've helped expand support. We've initiated and supported federal legislation that improves the lives and survivors and providing them with resources to help them heal from the trauma they face. This day, every year, we pause to recognize through the awards ceremony the incredible efforts of survivors, victim advocates, and justice professionals who affect the change daily through their commitment to improving victims' rights and services. Though it's a bit early this week, we usually host the awards during National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which is next week, but we are not going to be in session next week. The theme for this year's National Crime Victims' Rights Week is quite relevant to the work of our caucus. The title, the theme for next week is How Would You Help? Options, Services, and Hope for Crime Survivors. And this is something all of you are experts in, and you have so much experience. How would you help? Options, services, and hope for crime survivors. That's the theme. So I'd like to highlight a few of our attendees today. Ann Seymour, who I mentioned a moment ago. Thank you so much for your continued advocacy and your passion, my dear friend. The Director of DOJ's Office of Victims of Crime, Christina Rose, who hope we'll get a chance to hear from. Raise your hand, Christina. Thank you for your leadership and for taking the time to honor these outstanding award winners. The OVC Director of Discretionary Division, Jasmine Diadaran-Fabian, there you are. The two of you power women are right next to each other. That's good. This is a day that brings me great pride as a co-founder and co-chair, and it's my pleasure now. We're going to alternate the awards with my co-chair, Anthony D'Esposito, who's going to provide the first recognition. Anthony?
This morning's first award is the Eva Marillo Unsung Hero Award. This award honors the memory of Eva Marillo, who is known for her 12 years of distinguished service to the Kings County Victim Witness Assistance Program, where she pioneered efforts to help women in abusive relationships. This award each year goes to an individual who has used their experience as a crime victim or survivor to promote public education and awareness, public policy development, and greater awareness about crime victims' rights and needs. I would like to invite Representative Morgan McGarvey up to present this award.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Congressman D'Esposito, Congressman Costa for doing this. Thank all of you all for being here. It is my distinct pleasure and privilege to present this award today to a wonderful woman, Whitney Austin. I'll tell you a little bit about Whitney's backstory and why she is so deserving of this award. Whitney was a mom. Whitney was a corporate executive on her way up the ladder at Fifth Third National Bank. And just like so many busy, successful working moms, She was on her phone walking into a meeting at Fifth Third Bank in Cincinnati, Ohio, when she was hit with 12 bullets as part of a mass shooting. She lay there bleeding on the sidewalk, saved by the brave first responders, and made a promise at that moment that if she lived through this, she would dedicate her life to helping others and ending gun violence. Now, I don't know how much y'all know about Louisville. Whitney's from Louisville. She was up in Cincinnati for the meeting. Everybody is 1 degree of separation apart in Louisville. We are the biggest small city in America. And so while Whitney was still in the hospital in Cincinnati, one of her good friends who I went to high school with called me and says, my friend was shot in this mass shooting. She wants to do something about gun violence. You got to come over and meet her as soon as she gets home from the hospital. So I did. I went over to her house. I was in the state senate in Kentucky at the time. And I had different pieces of paper with me. And I sat there in her bedroom as her hair was still wet, having literally washed the blood out of it when she got home. And she said, I'm going to do something to make a difference. Now, I've never told Whitney this, but at the moment, I don't know if I believed her. You know, we've seen this before in politics. Something happens, somebody wants to make a difference, but in a year or two, they're back to the life they had before. No, Whitney was incredibly serious. She quit her job. This is September of 2018. We're coming up on almost 6 years. And she has taken the fight for gun violence into Kentucky and made amazing progress. She's brought together Democrats and Republicans in the Kentucky General Assembly. She has a common sense corporate approach that is both practical and compassionate. She has gotten hearings on her bills in the Kentucky General Assembly, and every day she inspires and makes a difference, whether it's through policy, whether it's through hosting programs like Stop the Bleed in Louisville, whether it's educating, whether it's getting people passionate about ending gun violence. So I can't think of anybody more deserving than this award by that person I met 6 years ago and didn't know, and is now a great friend and an inspiration to me, Whitney Austin.
Thank you to all of the congressmen behind me, but especially to Congressman McGarvey. Everything he is saying is true. And I know some of you in this room are survivors of crime as well. And for me, when I was facing death on September 6, 2018, most importantly, I thought of my family and how do I get home to my precious babies. But there was also a thought that was nagging in my brain, and it was, why did you think you were immune to this? Why did you think you would never be a victim of mass violence? And you've not done anything to stop it. There were opportunities before my shooting to engage in this building, in this process, and to do what I could have to stop it, and I didn't. And so when I woke up in that hospital room, surrounded by the most angelic faces of nurses and doctors, and they told me I was a miracle. I had survived 12 bullets. My husband was there, and we said, we're gonna do something about this. This is the greatest gift that we have ever received, and we are not going to take it for granted. We're gonna do everything we can. And I can't think of any better way to honor victims and survivors and family members who have lost loved ones to this public health crisis than to try to stop it. And that's what my organization, Whitney Strong, does. I'm so proud to have partnered with people like Representative McGarvey and others across the aisle to do what we can to bring forward common ground solutions, both legislative and non-legislative, to stop this before it happens. So I'm deeply honored for being awarded this work, this purpose, and thank you.
Thank you. Inspiring words, yes indeed. Thank you so much for all of your efforts. The next award that we're going to present is the Caucus Award of Excellence. This is a new award given at the discretion of the co-chairs to individuals and organizations that have been outstanding partners to the caucus. I've invited Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina's 6th Congressional District to join me in presenting this award. The National Mass Violence Center works to be a hub for evidence-based responses to instances of mass violence. It is our nation's go-to organization to help communities and their leaders and their allies to prepare for, to respond to, and more importantly, to recover after a mass violent crime has taken place in their community. And the center, as a wonderful partner, been a wonderful partner to congressional offices. When something happens in a community, I have leaned on the center to go and to reach out to that congressperson's district and to work with their staff to help provide support and services. And we've done just that, to provide that assistance to that community. While I wish there was no need for a national mass violence center to exist, we all feel that way. I'm grateful that the center works to help countless communities that are devastated by mass violence. And the center is truly deserving of our Caucus Award of Excellence. To present that Award of Excellence, I would like to recognize my colleague and good friend, Jim Clyburn. Would you please come up, Jim?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jim Costa, for your friendship over the years. I do mean friendship. I know that those of you who look in on our proceedings via C-SPAN or what have you, you know that we've got a habit of standing on the floor, referring to each other as my good friend, and most times we don't mean it. Well, I'll call Jim Costa my good friend. I really do mean it. I have been closely associated with him ever since he's been here in the Congress, and I've gone to his district more than once to help ensure that he comes back time and time again. And I was wondering when he was going to repay me. And so I'm so pleased that he's asking me to present this award to a group located in my congressional district. Thank you so much for the work you do. I know that all of you are aware that Charleston, South Carolina, that I proudly represent here in the Congress, the entire peninsula of Charleston is in my congressional district. Mother Emanuel is in my congressional district. I knew personally all but two of the victims of that mass violence that took place there. And this award acknowledges the invaluable work that you do to support survivors and communities impacted by violence. It's kind of interesting. A lot of times we zero in on the families and the victims, and we don't really focus on the community and what it does to a community beyond the family to be impacted by violence. And so the National Mass Violence Victimization Resource Center has established itself as a pioneer in this crucial field. In the wake of horrible incidents, the center offers invaluable evidence-based resources and support during the time of devastation and pain. Your comprehensive approach, from immediate crisis intervention to long-term support services and research, ensures that survivors have access to the help they need whenever they need it. The impact of your work extends far beyond individual survivors. By sharing knowledge and best practices, you equip the families, the community leaders, mental health professionals, journalists, and policymakers with an understanding of mass violence trauma and the tools to support survivors. your work is saving lives, not just physically, but emotionally as well. And so, Madam Associate Director, Dr. Angie Moreland, and your staff, and the entire group, congratulations once again on receiving this prestigious award. Thank you for following.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On behalf of myself, our director, Dr. Dean Kilpatrick, my whole team at the National Mass Violence Center, we just really want to thank Congressman Costa, Diaz-Pasito, and also Clyburn for this amazing award. So this is truly an honor. Since our inception, the caucus has connected us with Congress members who, like their constituents, are completely overwhelmed when a mass violence incident occurs. Together, we've been able to provide information and resources and really disseminate that information to individuals and communities to help them on the worst day of their life. And then more importantly, after that, to help with recovery and resilience in the days, the weeks, the months, and the years that really follow after that. So one of our victim service providers recently said to one of our team members, what did people do before the Mass Violence Center existed? And I think that's very profound, and that's a huge honor for us to hear that. And this excellence really began in 2017 when the Department of Justice Office for Victims of Crime started the National Mass Violence Center. They funded us as a cooperative agreement, and together we really started working to improve lives of victims and be able to provide much needed resources. So OVC had a big vision for us at that time. They really wanted to jointly work together and support our work to be able to provide evidence-based, survivor-driven services and resources, which is the crux of everything that we do. So OVC's director, Chris Rose, and deputy Jasmine Diodario-Fobian are here with us today. So I'm very grateful to have them here. And I also want to recognize our program manager, Eugenia Pedley, who's our guiding light and really helps us walk through every day of this process of working with victims and families. So perhaps most importantly, or definitely most importantly, we strive for excellence by listening to mass violence survivors. So it is their experiences, their personal stories, and their lives that really help us to augment the research that we're doing, figure out what's needed the most in those days after, and those years and decades after, so that we can build recovery and build resilience moving forward. So on behalf of the National Mass Violence Center, we thank the caucus. We're very, very grateful for this award. We're so grateful for the Office of Victims of Crime. And most important, we appreciate our survivors, our families, and our communities who have really allowed us to walk beside them. And we've been able to use their stories to guide everything that we do. So they've experienced the horror of mass violence, but somehow are able to find hope and healing as they move forward and allow us to do that with them. So you all share this wonderful award with us, the victims. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the good work you do across the country. Thank you, Jim. Our first award, the Ed Stout Memorial Award for Outstanding Victim Advocacy, which honors the memory of Ed Stout, one of the directors of the Aid for Victims of Crime in St. Louis, Missouri, one of our nation's 3 oldest victim assistance organizations in the country. This award recognizes innovation in victim assistance and crime victim services in areas of program development, public or agency policy development, community and public awareness, and collaboration among community and justice-based organizations that serve the victims of crime. I'd like to invite our colleague now, Congresswoman Debbie Lesko of Arizona, from the 8th Congressional District, up to the podium to present the second Ed Stout Award nominee.
First of all, I want to say thank you to the co-chairs, Congressman Diaz-Pasito and Congressman Costa. I am honored to be a member of this caucus, especially since I'm a survivor of domestic abuse from my first marriage. You know, this is exciting for me because I nominated this person and then they won, which is always fantastic. So I want to say it was an honor to nominate the Maricopa County Attorney's Office's Victim Services Division for the Stout Memorial Award for Outstanding Victim Advocacy. And I'm proud to present the award today to Jennifer Heisick, who is here representing the division. And she told me today that she's been working there, 26 years? 26 years working for Maricopa County and victims. Thank you so much, Jennifer. The Victim Services Division is doing excellent work to support crime victims in Maricopa County, and their efforts are worthy of recognition. Just in 2023, they helped over 21,000 victims through the trauma of crime and the difficulties of the criminal justice system. They provided more than 1.5 million services, and in doing so, they have developed cutting-edge procedures that help crime victims each and every day. They recently worked with the Information Technology Department to develop a portal to streamline crime victim case notifications. The portal includes important links that provide additional information victims can access, such as victims' rights, restitution, and post-conviction. The portal was designed to inform the victims of their rights related to each court event. Currently, there are over 400 users. This innovation is so important to ensure crime victims have access to the information that they need. I'm so proud of the work they are doing and what you are doing, Jennifer, to help victims in our community. For those of you that don't know, Maricopa County is the 4th largest county in the entire nation. There's a lot of people, millions, a lot of victims. So thank you for what you do. Congratulations to you, Jennifer, and the Maricopa County Attorney's Office Victim Services Division for this award. Please come forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am truly honored to represent my office in accepting this award on behalf of our Maricopa County Attorney, Rachel Mitchell, and all the leaders, advocates, specialists, and administrative professionals in our division whose work is acknowledged by this award. We are grateful for the Victim Caucus and the amazing commitment you have had to promote the rights and interests of crime victims. While we have made progress in recent years, much remains to be done. Your leadership is critical, and those of us in the field and on the front lines, thank you. I am part of an amazing office with people who fight every day to make the rights of victims and the cause of justice more than just words. Thank you again for bringing attention to our work and the work of so many others. Thank you.
Congratulations, and again, thank you very much. We have this year 2 Ed Stout Awards to present. And Congresswoman Angie Craig of Minnesota, the 2nd Congressional District, would please come forward to present the 2nd Ed Stout Award for a nominee from a good part of the country, right?
Great.
Congresswoman?
Well, Well, good morning, everyone. This is just an extra special day for me. I never expected to be presenting this award with such a personal story to tell. But 1 year ago in February, I was the victim of a crime here in Washington, D.C. I was violently assaulted in the elevator of my apartment building here. I was punched, I was kicked, I was strangled, and I managed to escape. That's what makes this actually so incredibly special to me, is that through trauma-informed therapy that so many of you help your victims access through hand-holding through a legal system that can be complicated and difficult even for a member of Congress. Through that trauma-informed therapy, building the resilience to use this experience to fight for not only victims and public safety, but also the gaps that we have in our mental health and our addiction processes in America. You and your work are building stronger victims. And I stand before you today with the resiliency that is really the product of so much of the work that each of you have done. And I want to say thank you personally to every single one of you in this room today. I especially want to say thank you and honor Barb Hedstrom, who has been a critical member of the Shakopee Police Department's work over the last several years. She is the Victim and Community Services Coordinator for Shakopee, the Congressional Crime Survivors and Justice Caucus's 2024 second Ed Stout Memorial Award winner for outstanding victim advocacy. See, the Shakopee Police Department was the first police department in Minnesota to have a victim services coordinator. In 2015, Barb worked with her colleagues to launch the Recovery Assistance Program, which helps those in recovery by providing scholarships to help break down barriers to treatment. Barb recently started the Law Enforcement Association of Victim Essential Services, LEAVES, which is a statewide professional association of law enforcement-based victim services providers. Due largely in part to Barb's work, the Shakopee Police Department has been a leader in the state of Minnesota and for victim families across our great state. And I want to say personally to Barb, as I present this morning, your words mean the world to me. I have spoken out in Minnesota about my experience as a victim of crime. And I truly hope that it has given other victims the courage and the resilience and the motivation to turn that trauma into something productive in their lives and in society. So again, Barb, it is such an honor to be able to present you this personally. And I am so grateful to every single one of you, and especially to Barb, the city of Shakopee, to Chief Jeff Tate, and to our entire community. Barb, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll try to talk loud enough and slow enough. So first off, I do want to thank Representative Craig and this caucus for this award. But I'm really here to accept this award on behalf of the Shakopee Police Department, our 50 sworn officers, our civilian staff, and also on behalf of our city council
past and present, and our entire community who have stepped forward to say it is important to try to help all crime victims of all types of crime. I salute the victim service organizations across Minnesota and the US who are trying to do more with less. But mostly, I honor the individual survivors who demonstrate the resiliency, determination, and commitment to overcome their victimization, and hopefully to find ways to help others. So, how would you help? One suggestion: support reinvesting and rededication of the Victims of Crime Act, so that fund assistance allocations to each state do not experience another year of major reductions like Minnesota's 42%. Okay, maybe a second suggestion. Start in your own community. Start small and grow big. So thank you again.
Congratulations to our awardees thus far. The next award is the Ted Poe Award for excellence by a public official. Ted Poe, as my co-chair had mentioned, was the co-founder of this caucus. He devoted his career to public service and specifically to improve victims' rights and survivor services. Each year, when we present the Ted Poe Award, we look for an honoree who is dedicated to public service and demonstrates an understanding of the importance of enforcing laws, respecting communities, victims' rights, community safety, and violence reduction. It was truly an honor to nominate this year's honoree. He's someone that I've known for many years. And he is a living testament to being committed to public service, to respecting those he serves, and to building bridges in the community to make it a safer, less violent place to live, work, and play. For over 4 decades, he has been committed to public safety, starting a career in the NYPD, and then moving out to what we call greener pastures in the Nassau County Police Department. And he has someone who, from his first days on the job, found ways to connect with the community. He has found ways to make sure that he enforces laws, puts bad guys behind bars, but in the process finds new, innovative ways to fight crime, to give his cops every resource that they need to do the job that they need to do. He's risen through the ranks and currently serves as the commissioner of the 11th largest police department in the United States of America. He is someone who is respected by each and every member of that force. And whether it's a large-scale protest, whether it's hosting the third leg of the Triple Crown at the Belmont Stakes, wherever the commissioner is, he leads from the front. There is not one thing that he asks his cops to do that he wouldn't do himself. He is someone that is respected by every community that he represents. Doesn't matter if they are the poorest communities in the county, the wealthiest community, the religion that they worship, none of it matters. What matters to him is respecting the people that he serves. His work has led to our county being one of the safest in the nations, and he has been able to serve as commissioner through 3 administrations, both Democrats and Republicans. And that should show his willingness to work with others. Before I present the award, I'd like to recognize fellow Long Islanders that have been here. I know Congressman Garbarino was here, Congressman Swazi sends his remarks, and to say a few words, fellow Long Islander, my good friend, Mr. Lilloda.
From Long Island, I'm a bit to the east in Suffolk County, and for generations, folks have moved east, first to Nassau County, then ultimately further east to Suffolk County, for those greener pastures. For public safety and for better schools, it's where my grandparents came from Brooklyn and Queens, and that's a common story on Long Island, to move east for a better quality of life. Now, I'm not sure if there's an agreed upon metric on effectiveness in the highest ranks of the policing. Maybe it's a crime rate, felony rate, maybe it's a homicide rate. But what I would submit to you is 4 decades of service to a community where you're respected by the community, by politicians of both parties, and by your fellow cops, to me, is the greatest measure of an effectiveness of a high-ranking law enforcement officer. Patty Ryder is the personification of that high level of effectiveness. Nassau County, on the cusp of New York City, which is suffering through some tough crime these days and some tough issues, is on that border between the city and the rest of Long Island. It is a defense for my constituents as well. I am confident in Patty Ryder's leadership to be able to ensure that laws are administered properly and balanced with respect, like I said, for the community and for law enforcement itself. I'm extremely proud to be here for you. I'm not from your county, sir, but you have my support, and congratulations for this well-deserved award.
Thank you, Mr. Lilloda. And now, like I said, someone who truly has spent a lifetime serving the public, a true cop's cop, the Commissioner of the Nassau County Police Department, Pat Ryder.
First of all, thank you. After those kind words, I don't know if I should just drop the mic and walk out and just start heading back to Nassau County. I'm humbled to be standing here in Congress, where those who give their lives to serve us are here doing and trying to create new laws to protect us. 41 years of doing this. Unfortunately, I've seen too much tragedy. I've seen too much bad things happening because of bad laws and bad politicians. Just 3 weeks ago, in Nassau County, we laid to rest Jonathan Dillon, who was shot by an individual who should have been in jail, who was out again in possession of a firearm and killed Officer Dillon on a routine car stop. His little boy, Ryan, is 1 year old. Ryan's not going to get walked to kindergarten by his dad. But what will be there is the men and women in law enforcement, because we stick together as a family. And we will bring Ryan to school on his first day. His wife, married 3 years, is not going to get to know those golden years. But we will stand by her and Ryan. But then again, just yesterday, a Syracuse police officer, an Onondaga sheriff, was shot and killed. Again, a senseless murder. Responding to a dispute at a home. For what? Because we keep an oath to protect and serve. We look out for our victims. We are willing to lay our lives down for our victims. But sometimes we become the victims. Ryan, his mom, the families of the 2 officers yesterday, they now are our victims. But we will make sure that we protect them as well as we protect all of you. So again, very humbled on behalf of Officer Dillon, the 2 officers yesterday. This is for all of them, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryder. Now we'd like to present the Suzanne McDaniel Memorial Award for Public Awareness which honors Suzanne McDaniel, one of the first prosecutor-based victim advocates in Texas and across this country. McDaniel formed the Texas Crime Victim Clearinghouse and helped draft the Texas Crime Victim Bill of Rights, the Texas Crime Victims Compensation Act, and the Texas Constitutional Amendment on Crime Victims' Rights. This award is given to an individual or organization that has used their voice throughout the media to promote and bring about change at the national level for crime victims. I would now like to introduce a good friend, Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, to present the award.
Thank you so much to the co-chairs of this very, very important caucus. And I have the honor of recognizing that this award will go to Baron Braswell and Gwendolyn Martinez for the work that they do to bring attention to the issue of teen violence in our communities. In January of 2006, they lost their beloved son, Baron Deuce, as he was called, Braswell. He was a student athlete, he was an honor roll student, he was on the track team, the baseball team, the football team, the basketball team. Everyone that knows him loved him. He was a vibrant person. And even one of the members of my congressional staff was in high school with him, a couple of years younger, and knew him as one of the coolest, kindest kids in school. After Deuce's murder, at a party, Gwen and Baron chose to make a change in our community, and they started an annual run where community members are brought together in a joyful, beautiful, athletic event on a chilly, often chilly, September morning in Virginia, where we honor his life. People run a beautiful course, there's awards given, and importantly, members of the community are educated on resources that are available related to preventing teen violence, related to joining in community with one another, related to mental health and the challenges that face so many of our kids. And they bring us all together in community to honor their son, remember their son, and there's a scholarship so that each year a kid from our region can go off to school and know that they are supported financially, but also in spirit by so many of the community members who join together year after year to celebrate Deuce's life and honor him. And it is now my honor to bring forth Baron and Gwendolyn, Baron's wife and mother as well, and let them speak about the work.
First of all, I would like to thank the caucus for recognizing us with this award. And Congressman Spanberger, thank you so much for nominating us for this award. I remember on the 20th of January 2006, I got the news that my son had been murdered, a senseless act of teen violence. As a mother, I could not fathom the loss of my child. I wanted to curl up and just die because I felt like my kid should outlive me. But a vision through tragedy came. Something said, just stand up, run against teen violence. And so that's what I did. I didn't know how I would get to that point, but I knew members within the community, and I reached out and they helped me to put together what now today will be the 19th year of the Run Against Teen Violence. It's not just the run, but throughout the year I do different events with the Spotsylvania County Sheriff's Department. I participate in events at the Spotsylvania Community Center, back to school events, National Night Out.
whatever I can do to get my voice heard, to get the message that teen violence should not exist. I should not be standing here as a mother saying that I lost my kid at the hands of another teen. No one wins. I lost my son. A kid is in prison for 40 years. And then there are 5 other kids that also served for the loss of my son. So we do give out college scholarships. We've given out over $164,000 in college scholarships. We do our Germana Race for Credit so that we can continue to reach out to kids that are going to college. And we do whatever we can within the community to continue the legacy of Baron Braswell II, better known as Deuce. So we thank you so much for this award. Thank you.
I also would like to thank Congresswoman Spanberger and all of you for recognizing us for this award. I will be really short in saying that in the 50th chapter of the book of Genesis, Joseph tells his brothers, what those have meant for evil, God will turn it around for good. And so in our lives, we want to exemplify that by giving back and doing good for others. Even though we've experienced a deep pain, we know that God is able and he can change things, and we just trust him to use us in such a way that we can do it. So thank you very much.
The next award, I am honored to present my colleague to present, is the Allied Professional Award. The award recognizes efforts of individuals and organizations or coalitions that directly benefit victims of crime. The honoree exhibits leadership, creativity, and commitment in linking the allied professionals to improve the plight of crime victims throughout our nation. And a real gentleman, and I have the honor and privilege to serve with Congressman Don Meyer, Virginia's 8th Congressional District, have come up to the podium to present the Allied Professional Award to his nominee.
Let me again thank Anthony and Jim for putting together this caucus. It was incredibly good work, fighting for resources for crime survivors, improving victim services, and most importantly, making sure that the money still flows for the Victims of Crime Act and the victims of child abuse and the victims of violence against women act. That all these things aren't possible unless we can actually fund the good people doing the work. And it's not easy, things are tight on the Hill, $33 trillion federal budget deficit, but we have to put first things first, and their leadership is really essential for that. I'm proud to be here, although it's a sad morning. I was happy when I came up here, but there's been so much tragedy talked about today. But really important that we do talk about it. The notion that we just wash it under the rug and don't think about our friends and our loved ones and the people that we don't know in our community that have been hurt. So just having the chance to recognize you, I think, is really, really important for the country and for the way we move forward. I get a chance today to honor with all of you one of my wonderful Arlington constituents. And she's been deeply involved in the domestic violence and the sexual violence. The statistics are astonishing. Almost 3 women are killed every day in America by their partner. And 92% actually know the men, 63% are their husbands or their boyfriends. A third of all women in America, 1 in 3 adult women has been raped. And I just can't imagine the trauma from that. 13% of those try to kill themselves at some point in the time after that. And then, was it every 98 seconds, someone is raped in America. I love our country. We have a very powerful, wonderful country, but we have much, much to address. And to be blessed with all of you sitting here today who dedicate your lives to it, we are incredibly fortunate. And I'm fortunate to introduce my amazing constituent, Candace Lopez. She's been an unparalleled advocate for victims and survivors in Arlington County. She's a cornerstone of the community-wide efforts to respond and to prevent domestic and sexual violence. She's spent most of her adult life passionately dedicated to the folks who need her help. And she's done this by bringing in lots of partners together from across the entire community. Arlington is sort of a special place. It's the hardest working county in America. It's the fittest county in America, but that doesn't mean it's the safest county. There still are lots and lots of really tragic things that happen every day. She's joined today by her parents, her husband, her daughter, and by the good folks from Doorways. Doorways brought Candace to our attention. They're the preeminent nonprofit that creates pathways out of homelessness, out of domestic violence and actual sexual assault, leading safe and stable and empowered lives. So will you please join me in congratulating this year's Caucus Allied Professional Award recipient, Ms. Candace.
Well, thank you. First, just want to thank the Crime Survivors and Justice Caucus and Representative John Fire for this award. You know, advocates, we don't do this for the awards. We do it because we believe that everyone is deserving of a safe and healthy home, a safe and healthy relationship. I've done this work for over 20 years because I believe that survivors deserve the resources and the supports that they need when they need them, and that the people who cause harm have the opportunity to learn why they've done it and an opportunity to change their behavior in the future. Right? Domestic and sexual violence is preventable. That's why I do this work. It's not a disease where we don't know what the intervention is. We know what it is. It's about learning how to engage with people in safe and healthy ways. And I'm really proud to be able to do that with a coalition of people through Project Peace in Arlington County, which is the coordinated community response to domestic and sexual violence, partnering with Doorways, where I worked for almost a decade, and now get to work with them as partners, not just colleagues and collaborators. And all the many people who have supported me. This work is hard. We support people who experience trauma. We experience trauma ourselves in doing that work. And so I just want to thank my husband, who has supported me 1,020% in everything I do, and listens to the stories that I have and supports me in it. My daughter, who has an amazing heart and so much empathy, and I just see her doing so many amazing things in the world. My family for always supporting me, and again, my very amazing community in Arlington, for which I am proud to call home. So thank you.
To all of you, you inspire members like ourselves for the caucus. Truly, it is important to recognize your incredible efforts throughout the communities in every country. The final award today is the Lois Hyde Award for Excellence in Innovation. It pays tribute to the former California Senator Lois Hyde, who was an appointed president of Colorado and served as the chair of the 1982 President's Task Force on Victims of Crime. That coincided with the local funds free passed by Congress back then, cited in all by President Reagan. Lois led a trailblazing efforts on behalf of crime victims that resulted in significant public policy advances to promote crime victims' rights and services, including the Office of the Victims of Crime. The honoree that I am proud to award and recognize is a professional who has had an impact on local, state, national, and international public policy development and the implementation that promotes dignity, respect, and rights and services to the victims of crime. It is my distinct honor to present the award to Margarita Rocha, the Executive Director of La Central La Familia in the Great San Joaquin Valley. Central La Familia provides a range of services in our valley to assist crime victims, support families, children, and promote health and wellness, encourage civic engagement, and so much more than it does. And they're honored to have your leadership and strong passion. The victim services programs are designed with advocacy element, empowering victims to seek out and advocate needed policy change, helping participants find their voice, find their voice, to fight for their communities. For an example, Marillo hosts a placita, our conversations in which she and individuals are allowed to develop their own way of communicating on community issues. These conversations provide clients and residents with a space to discover their voice and cultivate their advocacy building skills. But this is just who Margarita is. She's a neighbor, she's a friend, and she's spent the past 25 years on behalf of those in our San Joaquin Valley through her position as Central Office Manager. She's a credit to our community. We're very fortunate to have you, Margarita, and an outstanding advocate for victims and survivors of crime. It is my honor to present her this year with the wonderful award, the Most High Award, in honor of Judge Hyde.
Good morning, everyone. See if it's still morning. I'm obviously very honored that this nomination came unexpectedly. Sometimes you just have your head buried doing your work, helping as your commitment is, and I can tell you a little bit about me. I am a daughter of immigrants, and so I believe that that's where my passion grew, because my parents did not speak English, didn't read English or write, and had limited in Spanish education, formal education. Therefore, I grew up in an environment where I was able to see firsthand what services my parents could have had and didn't have. And then when I went to school, I too did not read, write, or speak English. Therefore, I was in an environment where I had to force myself to learn something I did not know and couldn't go home and talk to my parents. That first exposure, I think, set me on a career, set me on a path of having empathy for families who can't access services due to limitations of their own abilities and language and culture. I've spent the last 50 years of my life as an advocate in many different capacities, which I believe were preparing me to land at Central La Familia Advocacy Services. Our organization, as the Congressman has said, has an array of services, but they're intentional. They're built to be able to surround our families, our victims, and not just the immediate crisis response, but rather than how much work can we support you with to become successful. I will tell you briefly, I know we're time limited, one client that has always stayed with me. This is a woman I met on the street, trying to find the courthouse because she had just been violently beaten by her husband. She had 2 little children. I saw these children, and I saw myself. I helped that person come to our office. I connected her with an advocate who worked with her. Fast forward, she is now a U.S. citizen and 2 children in college. She made a point to stay connected with me, and she shared with me a statement one of her little boys had said in Spanish. I trabaja la señora que nos ayudó. The woman who helped us works there when they passed the building. He would always remember. Because I took those 2 children, put them in our kitchen, gave them juice and cookies, and set a program that they could watch that was child friendly. That's why I continue to do this work, and will continue until I can do it. Thank you, God.
Came all this way. Well, Anthony is so inspired, as I said when we were talking, because all of you make it happen. And we're honored as members of Congress to be able to recognize that hard work. And as we said, Next week is National Crime Victims Week, and the theme is, how would you help? Options and services and hope for survivors. Well, all of you have told a story today on how you help. You've explained what we need to be doing and focusing on. And to put a close on this, my colleague had his own thoughts, but we'd like to have the Director of the Department of Justice Office for Victims of Crime, Christina Rose, to say a few words. We've had Senator Christina come here.
I'll be great.
Thank you, Congressman Costa, and thank you, Congressman Esposito. I want to thank everyone here for being here and honoring these wonderful award winners and survivors. I know for most of us in this room, this is a calling, right? It is a calling. We feel so strongly about the work that we do. And thinking about the theme, and it's been so wonderful to hear several people talk about the theme of Crime Victims' Rights Week. Options, services, and hope for crime survivors. How would we help? Because for those of us who it's not a calling, everyone has a role to play in helping survivors and creating a safe space for survivors to come forward, whether it's memorizing a hotline number, whether it's knowing where the domestic violence shelter is in the community, or just being willing to listen without judgment. So thank you all for being here, and congratulations to all of the award winners.
Thank you very much. And before we close, Jim and I would like to thank our staff, Lindsay and Kit, for the great job that they did putting this event together. To our audience who have joined us here this morning, thank you, and to all of you for traveling thousands upon thousands of miles to the nation's capital with your family, your friends, and colleagues. I hope you realize that you have friends here on Capitol Hill that support you, that are rooting you on, and that are here to provide the resources that you need to do your job. So congratulations to all of you, and to all of you, please keep doing the great work that you're doing. Stay safe, and God bless.